Gavin, thanks very much for making the time. I've been really looking forward to this conversation, and thank you again for all the partnership. Maybe just to get ourselves started here, if you don't mind just doing a quick intro on your role, your responsibilities at Databricks, that'd be great.
Of course. Yeah, cheers, Anand. Looking forward to the discussion. So my name's Gavin Edgley. I lead the Value Acceleration team here at Databricks. So we're a team of often ex-management consultants that help our customers to tell the story of the impact that they're making with Databricks. And a really important part of that journey is not just helping directly in those cases where we can be directly customer facing, but also kind of changing the way that the Databricks field thinks about the way that they sell and helping to anchor to business outcomes, anchoring to value. That's kind of the big problem that we continue to tackle.
Maybe just tell us a little bit about what your team does, like specifically, and how you're helping to scale and support all of these different customer engagements.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's been an incredible journey, even over those just last 6 years. It's incredible to think of where we were versus where we are now and kind of the pace of change towards the future. We essentially, as a team, we kind of split our time in half. We end up spending half of our time directly customer facing, working through the highest potential opportunities to help our customers kind of draw out value from the platform. But as you can imagine, we can only reach so many customers directly. As the growth journey has increased, the Databricks field has really rapidly grown in size, and kind of as an embodiment of this, technology advance that we're seeing, as that puts pressure on us to work out how do we actually help out and empower our field to apply these things that we know are really effective, specifically putting yourself in the shoes of the customer, thinking through the business outcomes that they're driving, and kind of serving as a translator between the technology that we empower our customers to use and the business outcomes that they're driving. How do we actually help that happen even when we're not in the room? And so for us, that means teaching the field, to helping upskill them, and then making sure they've got the right tools available to them to actually push forward with that vision. So yeah, it's a big challenge, but really important to work with partners like yourselves in order to realize the vision.
Yeah, and I can only imagine that customers must be very receptive to that as well, because they're trying to figure this stuff out on the inside out, trying to connect the dots between their IT investments and their business outcomes. It's a very challenging environment for them to go do that. Maybe just a bit of a way of how have you seen that journey evolve even before Databricks to where you started and where you're at right now, and where do you think that might go, just in terms of how customers will continue to engage with partners on their journey for digital transformation, and how you describe that return on investment?
Even to kind of think back to 6 years ago when I first joined here at Databricks, I saw the way that we were helping a lot of our customers with these kind of value conversations, and a lot of it was grounded in the total cost of ownership. What will it cost you to solve this problem with Databricks versus whatever you've been using previously? And we could help them draw that comparison, pull together a TCO analysis that would help them kind of appease finance and ensure that finance feels this is a good investment on their side. But when I saw those analyses, I joined Databricks excited about the potential of data and AI. It was much more kind of technically focused, and I felt this was a bit of an existential challenge. If we don't get this thing right, I thought we may not continue to help our customers at the pace we need to, and not grow at the pace we need to. It turns out I was wrong. Databricks continued to grow, and in my view, it's because Databricks has such a fantastic product market fit. We have such a strong product that data leaders love, and the practitioners just they live and die by this product. It's incredibly impactful and really effective at solving business problems with technology. But the pull through to the business wasn't happening as often as I'd expected. Now we fast forward to this year. It really is a priority for Databricks to make sure we do this. We talk about, speaking the language of the industry. So speaking the language of our customers, and that includes the outcomes they're driving, speaking their language and helping them to tell that story. So there's a need for us to link technology leaders through to that outcome within their business. This is the big focal point for us, essentially, as we grow and mature as a company. And so, yes, it's a really critical thing for us to get right.
And Gavin, you mentioned maybe during that period of time, like we all know, there was this chat GPT moment sort of 2.5 years ago, and industry has changed and selling has changed as a result of having access to large language models and the ability to quickly go and gather information. Maybe as you think about that language translation and speaking the language of the industry back to the technology and bringing it all together, you've dabbled, and the team has dabbled with a variety of different technologies and tooling around that. What have you found to be some of the learnings, and what has worked for you Where is your mind right now in terms of where are you seeing most success in going forward? There's a few things in there.
Yeah, no, there are. I think it's a good sharing the lessons is a good way to tackle it. We've been fortunate that our leadership here at Databricks, Ali, our CEO, one of his main considerations is how can we get our whole company using these technologies as much as possible in order to unlock the potential. And so that's meant that early on we've had access to the generative AI tools that can help us with a whole host of problems. And I think it's great because people are thinking about prompt engineering. They're thinking about how they can use these tools to great effect. But as I think would be the case in any organization, there are different levels of adoption among folks in the field. Some of the earlier, nerdier folks are using it all the time and arguably using it to great effect. And then others are maybe doing a little bit more of a wait and see, or maybe they're kind of taking some shortcuts that don't actually lead to those best outcomes. And so one of the lessons for us has been, if we can just bottle up what those best approaches are, if we can bottle up the most effective methods, the most effective plays that folks are executing against, the most effective kind of prompts that folks are using within these tools, and ensure that everyone in the field has access to that approach, that'll really up-level the way that we drive impact and will kind of accelerate us on our journey. And so that's been one really important lesson for us.
Yep.
I'm sure there are others, but that one jumps out as probably the biggest.
Yep. And as you think about this transformation and this change, there's the people, there's the process, there's the technology, and there's the data and how you string those things together. We've started working together in some new coaching workflows. Maybe you could talk a little bit about what you've been most interested about with that coaching workflow and how you think it can bring together that transformation to take those best practices that you're talking about and scale them out more consistently.
Absolutely. And I think it's that one, plenty of lessons through this process of co-developing this with your team and aiming to solve this critical problem. To give just a little bit of context, so we know that our customers are using Databricks as a data warehouse more and more. And we know that this is a really important underpinning piece. If the data from your data warehouse is available in Databricks, then you're able to unlock the potential of the data intelligence platform. So this is one of the most important focal points for our field, to kind of educate and help customers to understand the value they can unlock, and then to have some meaningful conversations to work out how this change could actually be enacted in their organization. Now, some, again, as we called out earlier, some of our field are having great, really meaningful conversations. They're utilizing these AI tools to do it, and then others aren't yet. And so what we aim to do is actually make it very easy for them to develop a set of tailored materials that's grounded in what matters to the customer through an iterative, AI-driven conversational interface, and then be able to use that deck to have a conversation with the customer and actually work out, what the shape of the partnership could look like moving forward. And so the end result is a flow that every seller within Databricks can go through that takes about 2 or 3 minutes, that's grounded in reliable research, that produces a tailored starting point for a presentation deck that they can then use to have a meaningful conversation with the customer. And so our expectation is this will lead to a lot of great outcomes for customers and a lot of learnings for us as we kind of build and iterate from this starting point.
Yeah, and as you go through that, you've obviously prioritized a couple of use cases, as you mentioned, around going to engage with customers on the partnership. I think you're also applying a critical element to this feedback loop. It's not just building the workflow, it's then going to close the loop and understand what were the leading indicators that are actually being taken up, and then how did that sort of get to your lagging indicators. Of course, everyone wants more revenue. Before you get the revenue, you've got to have the pipeline, you've got to qualify that pipeline. But well before that, you've then got to have the adoption and the usage and the activation. And so maybe you just spend a little bit of time on how you think about the closed loop and what kind of learnings you've seen previously, or what you're expecting. Maybe what's a hypothesis for you going forward as to what might happen.
So yeah, you're right. There are all those lagging indicators. What we've really done throughout this process is grounded ourselves in what are the things that we know are really effective. What are our customers asking for? What are the areas that we should focus on? And so for us, the total cost of ownership conversation is something that data leaders want to make sure they have a really strong hold on. So within this tool, we made sure it's possible to compare the total cost of ownership of Databricks versus others times 15 different technologies. And we make that easy. But we found, again, through past experience, it's not just a matter of presenting the TCO analysis. You also need to be well equipped to have a conversation around that and to understand the talk track and to be able to kind of play that out. And so again, as part of this tool, there's the analysis that's produced, that's tailored, and a tailored talk track, which is very helpful. On top of that, there is an output which is really powerful, which calls out what are this customer's strategic priorities? What are the things they're actually aiming to do? And then how can the data warehouse of data and AI plug in to make those, to either accelerate those outcomes or to make them possible in the first place? And so drawing that link together, in the past, before generative AI was nearly impossible. We could do TCO analysis, which is essentially grounded in the logic from a spreadsheet, and we could give that a great interface. But we couldn't do these kind of comprehension exercises, piece together really disparate ideas and create a cohesive story. Now we can. And so that we expect is going to be a gigantic unlock. And then separately for us, we have a deep understanding of the pain points that customers typically encounter. It's important to have these validation discussions, but we actually want to draw out and understand those and essentially translate them into a meaningful conversation. Again, the tool helps us to do that. And so by grounding ourselves in, here are the things that we know are effective, that's kind of one thing that we expect will drive adoption and usefulness of the tool. And then the next piece is we're running enablement across the field in a very purposeful way. We're soliciting a lot of feedback from folks that are early adopters of it. We're leaning into those teams that are already using some of the other generative AI tools and showing them what we have here and soliciting their feedback to improve it. And as we've kind of discussed with your team, once we launch and get this out to the whole Databricks field, it's kind of just the beginning. We actually want to make sure that we continue that feedback loop in order to focus what we add to this and how we modify it that is in a way that is informed by what we're learning from the field. I think it's essentially a very different approach to problem solving than we might have had to adhere to in the past, where there's longer development cycles and less feedback. Here we can actually, in my view, learn and iterate much faster.
Well, Gavin, you bring me back to our first interaction 6 years ago when we were working with Databricks, and it was essentially a one-day training. Here's what the platform is. Go and come online, do your research, do your analysis, go build a point of view, go and engage with the customer. And it was kind of there for the account executives to kind of do their own thing, and it was left up to their intuition and their own time. And what you've kind of guided the story a little bit here is more recently the teams have had access to some other tools and they've kind of augmented their way of selling. Some people are using it more, some people are using it less. You're trying to package up all of these best practices into some guided workflows, and those guided workflows hopefully then should scale. It sounds like your team's ability to then package up all your domain expertise out to the field across thousands of accounts and account executives as well. And hopefully we should learn together then how do we build that next, let's call it a 10x seller, the familiar term with engineering, 10x engineer, like the 10x seller that can be highly productive, driving high quality partnerships with customers. Does that sound about right?
It does. And in my view, the problem that we were solving together back then, 6 years ago, when we first started working together, is still the same problem we encounter now. We just have incredible tools available to us. Back then, we were still needing to empower the field to understand the customer's priorities and equip them with data points and metrics that can help them to piece that together. Now we can do that, but with the power of this comprehension engine behind generative AI. And so my view, we can do that much more effectively, which is exciting. And I imagine it enables folks to then elevate to the next level. If you're spending less time doing some of the more mechanical parts of that problem, you can spend more time speaking with customers. You can spend more time learning and validating all those things that we know will lead to the right outcomes. I think it's pretty brilliant. Points us towards the most high value activities, essentially.
Perfect, Gavin. And as part of, maybe it would be great to hear from your own words what you see the value in the Databook platform. You mentioned that there's actually a new kind of problem-solving approach for doing this. Part of our differentiation is kind of moving away from the horizontal AI platform being everything to everyone and then allowing folks to go and develop on it, and trying to be as specific and vertical, domain specific as possible in there, both with the combination of services and the software. Maybe if you could just describe in your own words, like what has your experience been and where do you see the most value leveraging the Databook team and platform?
Yes, for sure. So in this case, solving this problem, the real advantage of working with the Databook team has been that you bring this unique combination. You've got the expertise in building out AI solutions, great, but then you combine it with domain expertise. You're also kind of solving these problems that we're encountering day to day. And so by combining your development capacity and problem solving with the Databook platform, plus the fact that you understand the business challenges we're facing, it just means we can move very, very quickly. There are lots of things like this happening at Databricks and happening at our customers, where there are really exciting problem spaces that we can explore but we always have this spectrum of folks that are kind of leaning into the problems. And I find it's most often that folks have either the technical capabilities to do the build, or they have the understanding of the business problem. And so you end up having to assemble these teams of people that are able to combine those together and solve the problem holistically. I think one of the unique things about Databook is you're actually able to combine both of those things within your team. Then partnering with us, we can move quite quickly. And I think that's an advantage here, because we've been able to learn and iterate. And so I see Databook, I see your team as really important strategic partners as we tackle these problems.
Awesome. That's really helpful, Gavin. And we're very proud to be building on the Databricks platform as well. So that's allowing us to then do even more delta sharing as we need to going forward, to provide even more context, because obviously the context is going to be critical, both your first party data, your third party data, to build that back out and engage with customers, knowing everything in the memory of what you've done before with them, what you're doing with them, what they've been asking for, to then go and be purposeful around that. So
absolutely
looking more forward. Maybe the last thing I'll ask you, Gavin, then, just if you could wave your magic wand, and if you think maybe forward over the next 2 to 3 years, where do you see the future of sales going, and how could you see AI playing a role in driving even more sales productivity?
That's a great question. There are a few schools of thought on how this will come together, but the most helpful way to look at it is in the tangible things we can be doing in the near term to unlock the potential of what this technology can do today. In my view, there's a lot of change coming with the way that people interact with this technology, but the technology itself is already able to do really incredible things. And so if we can tap into the potential of what's available right now by solving the problems that we expect at highest impact and building from that starting point, I expect the compounding effect of that will be pretty incredible over time. And the way to do that is to get close to the way that sellers are selling, to identify the areas where they need the most help and the things that would actually help them to achieve outcomes for their customers and for their own targets, and focus in on those ones in order to kind of sequentially problem solve. Here, I think with this partnership, we're tackling the biggest thing that is highest priority for Databricks right now. And I'm really encouraged for us to continue learning from this and then to progress to those next problems, because just you get 2 or 3 problems down the road, you've got an incredible compounding effect. I think that's where we really start to see the impact.
Yeah, awesome. And actually, we have maybe a couple of minutes. I'm going to ask you an unfair last question, but maybe or a fair question, but I didn't prime you on it. If I take the flip side, and what do you think won't change? Like, if we think about sales over the next few years, like there's obviously, this has been around for 2 millennia plus. Selling is a very old traditional industry, kind of as a way of learning how to engage with customers and help them progress in whatever their business they have. What do you think might not change in the next few years? There's a lot of anticipation and ideas about AI and what that might do, but there's probably some things which are time tested that probably won't change. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. There's a big underpinning piece, which is in my view, a critical success ingredient for companies that are able to kind of succeed and grow and achieve incredible things. And it is the agents of change within those companies. And so I think sellers, it's really important for us as sellers to identify those change agents, to build trust, a trusted relationship with them, and to help them achieve what they're aiming to achieve. AI can help us on the periphery of each of those elements, but sellers are still going to need to be, surgical and skilled at finding and empowering those people. And connecting them to the technologies that can help them achieve what they're trying to achieve. That bit, I think, is going to remain constant. And if we can use AI to help us do that even better, that's how we kind of unlock this potential.
Yeah. Awesome, Gavin. As always, thank you so much for everything we're doing with you. Thank you for your partnership and your championing and your change agents. But just, it's great working with you and your team, and looking forward to more years of continued collaboration. So thanks for taking the time out here, and looking forward to the next conversation.
My pleasure. And thank you so much for your partnership. I'm thrilled with the progress we've made so far, and looking forward to what we can tackle next.
Fantastic.